Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of the Disruptive Franchise Podcast. This week, I'm joined by special guests Lisa Johnson and Karen Paylor. Hello, ladies.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Great
Pleasure.
to be here.
Great to have you guys here. So, as sponsors of the 2025 Disruptive Franchise Awards, we thought we'd bring you on and have a little chat about your franchise, first of all, the Business Success Company. But I've also worked with you for a very, very long time. So we'll get into lots of different things. But I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves. Lisa, why don't you go first?
So I'm Lisa Johnson and I own a business called Lisa Johnson Strategy. And Karen is the operations director of that business. I'm the CEO and we do lots of things together. So we've got that business and that helps people make money from courses, memberships, group programs, things like that, basically taking their knowledge and putting it online. And then we also have another business together, which is the Business Success Company. And that was born from basically my company in as much as that we wanted other people to have the success that I've had. And there's kind of a blueprint to that. And so we developed a franchise company from there.
Amazing. Karen, tell us a little bit about what you do in the business.
So I see myself as the person that plans and implements. So Lisa is the visionary. She's been very, very successful over the years with her vision, her forward thinking. And I am the person that kind of makes it happen. I take her concepts and her ideas and I put them into practice. And that's just a brilliant role for me because I love being in that support role. I love making things happen. And to have the freedom and flexibility to do that in this type of business is absolutely so rewarding. And then to be able to translate that into our own business, we went into partnership. It was just a great opportunity for me. And when Lisa talked to me about it initially, I was like, this is just such a great opportunity. We can really make a difference here and do it together as partners. So that's my role.
Wonderful, isn't it? I think having joint franchisors in a franchise company is so powerful as well because you both bring such different skill sets and knowledge. And as a franchisee of that franchise myself, it's having not just like one person's vision and one person's brain to pick, and it's so helpful. Really is.
It makes a real difference. And we're quite opposites as well. So we bring very different things to the business. Karen is really organized, really good at like planning, project management, all of that kind of stuff. That's not my forte, to be honest. I'm somebody that likes to just like, right, let's go without really thinking about, well, hold on, let's plan through things. How are we going to get the best result from this? So having two of us there is a really good thing for the franchisees.
It definitely is, definitely. And so what kind of made you start the franchise? Obviously, you'd had huge success in the online world and helping lots of people make lots of money and have really good success and change their lives. What was it about franchising that kind of drew you both into that?
I think that people constantly said, oh, I want to do what you do. And so I was teaching them to do versions of that, of their own thing. I was like, okay, how can we give them pretty much do everything for them, like get as much as we can done for them so that they just have to bring their amazingness to it. And we sat down and we thought about it. It's like, can we replicate my success to other people? And it's like, well, yeah, if they're going to put the work in, we can tell them exactly what to do because it is kind of a blueprint. You grow an audience and you use a CRM system to do that. You put a funnel out there, you get really visible, you sell certain things. We were like, the thing that most people said to us was, I can grow an audience, I can do all of those things, but I haven't got the assets to sell. And so we were like, well, we can create the assets. That's something we're really good at. We know what people want. We can create those assets for people to sell. And that's kind of how it started.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Karen, how
it was
did you
a real gap, a real feeling of a gap in terms of where do people, online entrepreneurs, want to spend their time and what are they good at, and the ability to help them to focus on what they're good at and have everything else there and have that support on the other parts of it. So they may be really good at creating the courses, but not necessarily the tech side or growing their audience or their marketing. And whatever those gaps are, we fill that. We fill the whole end to end, but it does mean they can focus on the things that they are good at, that they've already established. If their clients are asking for certain things, the assets are there. They can go, oh, I can help you with that. You're struggling with your sales. I've got a course here that can help you with that. We can put that out, and it's there. It's ready for them. So it's really complementing online entrepreneurs where they already are. But also, if you don't know where to start, you can get started as well with the Business Success Company, because literally everything is there to help you. There's a CRM there, there's your sales pages, there's your social media posts, there's everything that you need is actually there in this. I just think it's such good value that I'm a massive fan, and I don't know why people wouldn't, because it's such a great addition to any business.
Yeah, definitely. What have you guys had so you launched the franchise just over a year ago. What has your experience been to suddenly be franchisors with quite a large number of franchisee partners?
Yeah, I think actually, if we're really honest about it, we maybe grew too quick. We didn't expect to have such a lot of people want to be franchisees very quickly. We knew it was a great offer. We knew why people wanted to do it. And we had to very quickly put in the infrastructure to be able to really support that many people, because we wanted to make sure everyone was really supported. But it's been great, like to see people who haven't made money online before then make money from the knowledge that they have and from the assets that we're giving them. It's an amazing feeling. Like, I've loved how it's gone.
Yeah, I think we've really worked with our franchisees in this first year. So we had to learn a lot very quickly in terms of the franchise model, I should say. And we wanted to make sure that this model was not just the traditional franchise model, but it was worked for us and for our clients. So we wanted to offer something different, but we have had to kind of learn along the way. This first year, we've really spent supporting our franchisees and listening to them and working with them to get them to, where further along on the journey. And again, we're learning from them as well. As I say, we're listening, and then we can really make sure that we're tailoring our franchise to what people need. So that's been really a great sort of privilege in this first year to be able to work together on that. And I think we have, everyone's helped each other, and we've created this great community of franchisees. I'm really proud of that.
Yeah, and we one of the things that we decided not to do, because we grew quickly, like in the first month, and then we decided to stop the emphasis on the growth so that we could work with the franchisees to see what they really needed so that it could be the best out there. I think lots of people just go all in on growth straight away, but it's like, it can't just be about what's in it for us and the business making a lot of money. It has to be what's in it for them. And so we had to spend that time really with just the ones we had in to make sure they were getting what they needed before we scale.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it really is about looking at, particularly when it's a new idea and you don't know how it's going to land on or who's going to come in and how that's going to work. I think from my experience of TBSE, you've got such a broad scope of people who have never run a business before versus people who've got really established businesses and it's slots in. And what you gave was really good flexibility to run it either way as like your whole thing or as part of your thing. But there was an awful lot of feedback very quickly of like, this works, this doesn't work. And I think in the true spirit of franchising, it's been a real partnership and collaboration of, we need this, okay, let's respond. And I think also it's proper like proof in the pudding, isn't it? Because if your franchisees are not successful, the venture is not successful. And I think what you guys have done really well is just gone all in on that and really understood that about franchise, where some of the earlier franchisors that I've worked with in the past really haven't quite understood that. It's my business, I'm doing it this way. Like, that doesn't work in franchising at all.
No, because it's not about us. And we know the structure and we know what's worked for us, but actually it has to be a collaboration on what works for them too, because it's their business. At the end of the day, it isn't our business. It's all of our business. That's why it's going to work.
Yeah, completely agree with that. I said on stage at this year's awards, actually, but from a disruption point of view, obviously we're the disruptive franchise aspect of it. Like, you entered the market really strong. I think there was an awful lot of attention drawn in the franchise world about what's this about? How's this going to work? Because traditionally, particularly in the UK market, we are territory based, geographic locations, and you guys didn't do any of that. You were online franchise. I had so many questions like, how does it work? Like, it works as it says it does. It's very straightforward.
It doesn't need to be the same. I think that's the problem. And we have, if we're honest about it, we looked at, how you can register with different like franchising associations and that kind of thing. But to do that, you really have to fit into a mold of franchising and what it used to be and what it's always been. And I think that we are in a world where if we continue to do that and don't change things to fit how the world is now and what people want now, it can't be good. And so we opted to not bother to register with any of those types of associations, even though really that's at a detriment sometimes, because people are always like, oh, you registered with these people and these people. But actually we wanted instead to make sure that we gave something that was relevant to what people need in the online space now.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do. I think the Franchise Association and other various organisations really have a good place in the world. But one of the things that really strikes me about what you guys did versus kind of the traditional, like say, route in and I must do this because this is how it's done and I must do that. You guys kind of ripped the rule book up and went, this is how we're doing it. And it's reflective of the world that we live in. We live in a global world now. You can live anywhere and work anywhere versus that traditional franchise model of, well, you've got this tiny section of the UK. And then the aspiration from most franchisors is, well, I want to take it global, but I don't know how. And you guys have completely flipped that. I love it. Absolutely love it.
We want people to go global with it. That's the whole point.
Yeah, and that's how we grow, isn't it? Like, that's how we kind of go, I've only got this tiny piece of the pie. And I think from a franchisee perspective, the mindset is then very different because you're not confining yourself. The mindset of a franchisee is very often, well, this is my little business. You don't feel like that in TBSE. You feel like the sky's the limit because actually, I can take whatever I want.
Yeah, absolutely.
Love it. How important, so you did lots of asset drops and you gave away huge value to your franchisees. How important has innovation been in kind of how you've approached your initial plan and executed it into kind of what's transpired?
I think it was really important, especially at the beginning, because we knew we wanted to come into the market with something different. So we wanted to be really innovative. And that's why we did what we did. Like not many people put out 80 assets that people get straight away. And we knew what we were doing with that. I think as time's gone on, what we've realized from our franchisees is they need less assets and more help, more training. And so that's what we've done. That's the best thing about a franchise, though. You literally can listen to what your franchisees are telling you they need and do it. It's not anything, nothing is set in stone. So, like for instance, one of the things this month that they wanted is rather than more assets, they've already got enough assets to sell now. What they wanted was to really understand launching. And so I was able to do a launch with them, an affiliate launch. So they made half the money from me launching. So they could really see how it worked and how they could do it in the future. And now they've got a whole, framework really to copy when it comes to them launching it themselves, which I think really helps.
Yeah, definitely. And I think giving them some of your strongest assets from your other business has massively helped them feel like they're not a side project. This is like a really big deal and they've got really incredible value from it. And taking the learnings from everything that you've done and being able to tap into that knowledge is very empowering from a franchise perspective.
Yeah, well, I wanted it to be that they get something from the other business, because most people who will decide to become a franchisee in this business, it's because they've seen what I've done in the other business. So it makes sense to allow them to have the same success by giving them assets that we used to make us a success.
Yeah, definitely. In terms of another really important part of it, though, is the support. So we've got a fantastic franchise manager, and she's there for anything. So she spends a lot of time with our franchisees, regardless of what stage they are at their business, or regardless of what they're what they're looking to do, their next step, what they want to implement. She's been through it all before, and she is there coaching and supporting, and I think that's just such a fantastic added value, because she's just like literally there whenever they need her.
It's
And
like having a coach, really. It's like them having
it,
their own personal coach that will just jump on a call with them when they're struggling. And I think that lots of people join masterminds and things like that, like courses, to get that level of support, but they get it included in the franchise.
Yeah, definitely. I think from a kind of a learning perspective for you guys as well, that there's probably so much that you would look at in the online world and go, well, actually, we can apply this to the franchise. What kind of key things do you think franchising as an industry can learn from online?
So much. How you launch, for a start. Like, I see franchises launch very slowly, really slowly, and it's like, you don't have to do it that way. Like, you can use an audience online and launch to lots of people rather than one at a time. I think what you talked about earlier, like realizing it's global, like we don't have to, like, franchising has changed. Let's learn from the online world. We can see what's happening there. But also, I think that whole ideal client piece that we use online so well, we don't tend to see that as much in the franchising world. It's just like anyone that wants this franchise can buy it. And actually, I think that we should be more picky about who our franchisees are, because it affects the whole brand. And so I think making sure you're talking to your ideal client and they're the people that you're attracting is really important.
Definitely. Karen, anything to add on that?
I just think there's a lot of work to do in the UK about, you know, the whole sort of concept of franchising in terms of the reputation. It feels like people are a little bit suspicious of franchises, whereas, you know, in other countries they're celebrated. So I think there's work to do to kind of change that perception, and I want to be a part of doing that, because, you know, it is time that we can kind of turn things on their head and make it a real positive thing rather than a sort of, oh, you know, I don't know, it's a franchise.
Because we've
So
had to do that with online businesses, haven't we, as well? Like with online business, people were like, oh, you know, sounds like a pyramid scheme. Is it a scam? We've had to show them that it's not. It's just taking your knowledge and getting it out there. We've had to turn that on its head. And you're right. It's absolutely time to do that with the franchise industry as well.
Definitely. I was at a franchise event yesterday. One of the kind of, we were talking about franchise recruitment, and one of the big pushbacks is always like, oh, but, you know, without being too stereotypical, my husband thinks it's a pyramid scheme, or my mum thinks I'm being scammed or I'm being conned. And it's like, it's just a business in a box that helps you get started. Like, it's a vehicle, it's a business model, rather than like a suspicious cloak and dagger and take your money and you're going to get nothing. I think the education in the UK really needs a lot of work to educate people what franchise is, because I still open with most of my sessions with like, right, name me some franchises: McDonald's, KFC, Wendy's, like Specsavers, if they know about it. But there's so much more to that industry than
and
just
a lot of people don't know their franchises. Like, they think they just, you know, someone set up all these shops themselves. Like, people don't realize that's what a franchise is. And I think people get confused with licensing and franchising as well.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, franchising being a niche within the licensing industry still confuses so many people. But it ultimately means that you have more control over who you work with and what they put out, which is great. I think the thing that always makes me laugh about franchise traditionally is that when the high street was collapsing, most of the things that stayed on the high street were franchises. People just don't realise. You just don't see it like that, which is absolutely like mind-blowing if you know about it. But of course, why would you? Because no one tells you. I did a whole business degree, and our franchising unit was all about big, like, American franchises. Like, no one said, well, actually, you can have a car rental business and be a franchise, or you can have a business coaching business and be a franchise. Like, it's
no, because it's always the same ones you hear about. You know, it's always the same, like the cleaning companies or the swimming companies. It's never the really completely different businesses. And I think for any businesses out there that are thinking, well, you know, I'd love to take this bigger, I'd like to go more global with this, but there's only one of me, or there's only my team, how can I do that? Franchising is a really good option. It's like, well, actually, you can get it out there and you can help other people make money at the same time.
Yeah, I think also in the climate where employers are being battered with national insurance and all the rest of it, actually, like, it's a really good way to scale a business without those like really controversial and really painful overheads, and still keep control of your business. And I think when people start to see it like that, suddenly it's less suspicious of what it's doing. And it's having that tangible thing as well. Like when you buy a business in a box, what do you actually get? And I think, you know, what was brilliant about the way you launched Business Success Companies, you got like a huge amount of assets to go and immediately, like, you know, sell and do what you need to do with them, versus you get a concept. And the success rate in franchising, I think the latest stats were like 99.5% more likely to succeed if you buy a franchise versus something like 53 or 58% if you go it alone.
Which makes sense, because you're already doing what somebody's already proved works. So all you're doing is taking that and putting your spin on it, which I think is a great thing to do.
Definitely. Karen, you were at the awards just a couple of weeks ago. We're filming this just after a couple of weeks. What did you take from being at a franchise industry event?
Well, I think, you know, as we said, we've spent our first year really focusing on our franchisees, and therefore a bit head down, you know, in our little CBSC bubble. And it was really great to sort of lift my head up and actually see, you know, be in that world with other franchisors and franchisees, and kind of just really realise that we're doing something important here. You know, people were very interested and complimentary about what we're doing, and also the speed that we, you know, the number of franchisees that we brought on initially. And it just kind of, it was lovely to get that sort of, you know, to remember that, yeah, we're actually doing something really good here. We're really making a difference, and we fit. And it felt great to be part of the Disruptive Franchise Awards, because that's exactly how we see ourselves. That's exactly what we wanted to do when we started this whole business, was to innovate, disrupt, not just kind of fit into the standard as it's laid out, but actually kind of start, you know, moving away from that and showing that things can be done differently. So it really reminded me that we're doing that. It was brilliant. So it's sort of really refreshing, like, yes, this is, you know, we're really doing something great here. So I'm grateful for that.
And you really are. I think it's like you say, kind of, because you're in such a bubble all of the time and you've got no franchise experience to compare it to. I don't think you guys realise how much the industry's got literally like turned around, like, what are they doing? Which is incredible.
Yeah, when you're doing it, we're just head down, we're doing the job. So we don't see any of that. You know, we don't see what people really know about us or think about us. So it's quite nice to get that validation sometimes when people are like, oh yeah, we saw it, looked really good. Like, I saw you got a lot of people on in one go. A nice thing to hear.
Yeah, definitely. It's helped me definitely to be like, you don't have to go really slow. You can just do it, and you can just make your own way. I think we're really obsessed as business owners in trying not to get it wrong, trying not to fail. And we get so caught up in that, like, oh, I've got to follow all of the right steps, particularly in something like franchising, which, you know, does have a level of, you know, like compliance. You know, we want compliant franchisees. We don't want disruptive franchisees. We've got a lot of pushback on the title of the Disruptive Franchise Awards, because the industry, we don't want disruption. We want people to follow the pattern that we set and what we tell them to do. But in the true spirit of where the world is going, it should be collaboration, even with your franchisees, not just do this.
And actually, we made mistakes along the way. It's really normal to make mistakes when you're starting anything new. And we had to put that right. You know, we had too many franchises straight away, and we wanted them to have an option to license. We realized that some people didn't actually want a franchise. What they wanted was a license to be able to do things. And so we offered that option halfway through, which, you know, we are agile, we're flexible, and we could see that some people needed something different. And so gave a two-tier choice.
Yeah, I think that was a real turning point as well in how the franchisees felt about the business, because you can get positive disruption like we love, but we also end up with negative disruption with those that feel a bit disgruntled about, well, actually I wasn't quite clear on what I was doing or what I wanted, or now actually having tried it, it's not really worked. And actually you moved really fast to offer that option and help those people to kind of get what they want, rather than what a lot of franchisors do. Well, you've got a contract, you're stuck.
Yeah, and I'm a big believer in contracts, but when you start something new, I think that you're learning as you go along. So in that first year, you've got to be flexible and you've got to see what people actually need from it. And so many people wanted to do things that as a franchise we couldn't do. And so we had to give another option.
Yeah, I agree with that. How did you feel about that, Karen, as ops director? Like, was that like, oh, goodness me, or like, yeah, let's do it?
I mean, there's a lot of goodness me moments in, in when when you're forming a new business and you're in the early stages of a business. But conversely, I love it because we do listen and we are agile, and we have got this. We've obviously got our framework of the business, and we've got certain things that we have to do. We are operating as a franchise, but we have also got that flexibility. And I never want to be in a position where we're not adapting to our franchisees or our clients' needs and wants, and adapting to what the market wants, because we're stuck in this kind of format. So there's no place for rigidity really in what we do. It's all about flexibility, and the minute we forget that, I think the minute we're not going to be in line and in tune with our franchisees. So for all there may be little procedural headaches, I don't want to change the way we work.
I think it's always worth that short-term pain. And again, as franchisors, a lot of people forget that. And it's like, well, this is what we do and we have to do it. But actually, if you can go through that little bit of pain, you're not showing weakness. You're actually showing that this is a partnership. And all right, not all ideas are good ideas. Not all ideas, should be put into motion. And you shouldn't be changing your mind every 5 minutes. But if you've got a really clear business case for changing something, and it's really refreshing to actually do it rather than carry the burden of, shouldn't I? Like, just do it.
Yeah, it's hard at the time when you're making these decisions that are going to make quite a difference to the way the business operates. It's quite hard because you don't know what the outcome's going to be. But generally, if you're making the decisions for the right reasons, they turn out positively. And that is also where Lisa and I work really well together, because I am I'm looking at the risks, I'm looking at the impact, the consequences. And Lisa is very much like, this will turn out, this will be a positive thing, believe in what we're doing. So we do have that kind of like, we quite regularly have those conversations, but between us, we agree, take it forward from different angles, and it does turn out to be the best way. But also if something isn't, if a decision's made or we do something that doesn't, we'll change it, we'll put it right. That's the way we work every day in the business.
Love it, absolutely love it. What's the future look like for the Business Success Company?
We're now getting to a stage where everyone's bedded down, they all know what they're doing, everyone's really happy, they're making money, and so now it is about growth, but maybe a bit slower growth than we did right at the beginning, to make sure that every single person that comes on has a really good support system in place. But yeah, for us, for the future, I think we've got all the foundations correct now, and it's about scaling.
Love it. Love it. So final question from me is, if you could do anything, we ask everybody, if you could do anything at all without failing, no fear of failure, magic wand, it's going to definitely work, what would you both do?
I'd have a television show about business.
You should have a television show about business. No. Don't know why you don't.
It'll happen.
It will. What would you want from that show? Would you be educating people on what happens in business? Would you be sharing your experience?
I want to talk about business in general. There are so many things. Like if you look at all our morning TV shows, you look at the shows that go out there on Netflix, there's so much stuff about different careers. There's stuff about fashion. There's things about money, but not in the right way. And we actually need something that shows that you can have business, you can make money, that money isn't a dirty word, how to invest money, how to, do things in a way of integrity in business and how not to. I think there's so much that we could do on a television show about business.
Love it. And I know you'll make it happen, which is awesome. Karen, how about you? Couldn't fail, what would you do?
Well, I think the variety of what we do is what keeps things interesting. I'm going to keep mine to the Business Success Company though, because I think there's a lot that we can do there, and I think it's massively scalable. I think it's got huge potential to scale. Everything as Lisa said, the foundations are all in place, and I would love to take that to North America, take it to Canada, become the brand, for the brand to be recognisable, for it to be a really successful and recognisable brand that entrepreneurs and online mentors turn to when they need something different to complement their business. That's what I'm hoping we can do.
Love that. I really do. And I think it's like, I was thinking about this the other day, like almost like when you have a business in the UK, you almost like mimic the pop star ambition of like, yeah, let's go break America. And I don't know why we kind of like think about it like that, but like in a truly global opportunity that you've got, like that is not that far off. I mean, it's a huge amount of work, of course, but it's not that far off in terms of the setup that you've already got. So it's really just enhancing and taking it into a new market, right?
Yeah, absolutely that.
Amazing, amazing. How can people find out more about the Business Success Company?
It's thebusinesssuccesscompany.com. There's a brochure, really nice brochure you can download, and you can find out all about us there.
Brilliant. And if they want to get in touch with you guys, is there like any particular social media channel? Like where do you like to be contacted?
Instagram is probably the best bet. Business Success Club, again, handle there.
Amazing. We'll put those links in the show notes as well. Ladies, thank you so much. It's just such a fascinating thing that you've done in franchising. And like I said, I don't know that you truly appreciate like all those eyeballs that went, what's this thing? Which is awesome. I love that you are innovative. I love that you are disruptive. And I love being a part of it, to be perfectly honest with you.
Thank you for being a part of it.
It's been really good. It's been great to kind of have that feedback loop. I think it's been really, really beneficial. So yeah, thank you so much for joining me this week. Thank you for being a big part of the Disruptive Franchise Awards this year as well and sponsoring us. If you've enjoyed this episode, then please leave us a review. Let us know what you found fascinating in it. And we'll see you next time. Take care.
Thanks, Stacey.
Bye.